Hi, I'm McKenna Jordan. I'm the owner of Murder by the Book in Houston, Texas. And tonight we have a special treat for you. So many of you have been watching our many virtual events. Tonight we will not be joined by any authors, but it will be the Murder by the Book staff recommending our favorite spring titles, new releases, a couple upcoming things. If you are interested in reading more about any of the books or ordering them, which we would certainly appreciate, I'm dropping a link in the comments right now. It's going to show up in the live chat and on YouTube and the comments on Facebook. And all the books we're talking about are on there. We're also tonight going to be listing underneath as a banner the title and author of all the books we're talking about. But if you have any questions, don't be shy. Put them in the comments. We want this to be interactive. We're happy to, at the end, do read-alike recommendations, and we just want this to be fun for everyone. So, again, say hi, tell us where you're watching from, and, you know, we definitely want to hear from you. So, we're going to start. As I said, I'm McKenna. We're also joined, we have our names on the screen, but my mom, Brenda, is going to do the first recommendation. We also have John and Sally here. Now, you've seen a lot of me and John recently with authors, but like I said, we're going to hear from Brenda and Sally about their new favorites. Gail, we will possibly have dog and cat visits. Yes. I don't know if John's going to have Juliet or Calvin appear. Benedict is making his appearance. Sir Benedict is making his appearance right now. And Maisie is behind me, but that's her being still in her bed won't last long. So I'm sure she'll make an appearance shortly. Okay, so we've got people watching from all over the place. And I am going to be manipulating the screen. Let's see here if we can get the focus on Brenda for her first recommendation. There we go.
You ready? Mm-hmm. Hi, I'm Brenda, and my first recommendation tonight is The Paris Library by Janet Charles. This book is the story of Odile Souchet. It's a two-part story, a 1939 Paris story, and then a 1983 Montana story. In 1939, Odile, who has always been obsessed with the Dewey Decimal System, gets a job at the American Library in Paris. And she is living the dream until the Nazis come through Paris. Because the Nazis have already closed down basically several libraries in Paris, the librarians join the resistance to try to keep the Nazis from desecrating their library and confiscating books. So basically they go through the Nazi guards to provide books to their customers, many customers being Jewish who can no longer come to the library. And then we skip forward to 1983 in Montana, when Odile now is living there. How did she get there? Well, you have to read the book. But anyway, she befriends a little girl who lives next door whose name is Lily. And through their association, they realize how much, number one, they have in common. And then number two, how they deal with life's throws to them and throwbacks to the past. So it's an absolutely wonderful book. We have it available for purchase now, and we look forward to seeing you in the store and picking up a copy. It's one of my faves for this year so far. Thanks.
Okay, so I'm not going to put myself on the screen big. I'm just going to switch over. Thank you, Brenda. I'm going to switch over to John. You're up next, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So the first book I'm going to talk about is Olive Bright Pigeoneer. So it's one of the only ones that doesn't fit the rest of my theme. So all of my other recommendations, other than this one and the cozy ones I'm going to talk about, all somehow ended up being kind of retellings of classic literature stuff, but in a thriller style. And weirdly, this time my list is a little different for me. I only have one historical mystery that I'm talking about, which is very rare for me to do that. So I'm going to talk about Olive Bright Pigeoneer by Stephanie Graves. Some of you might have seen me chat with Stephanie in December when the book came out. She is a local Houston writer. This is her her debut mystery novel. She's done some romance stuff under a different name, but this is the first for Stephanie Graves. We have signed copies still in the store. We don't have a ton of them left, so if you want signed copies, definitely order them. I saw somebody ask if there was going to be a list. I kind of dropped a link that'll have all of the titles in there, so you'll just go to the website and you'll be able to see all of them there. So for Olive Bright Pigeoneer, our main character, Olive Bright, spends her time, it's World War II, she spends her time working at her father's veterinary clinic and also spending time in her barn with her her racing pigeons. And she really wants to get them enrolled in the National Pigeon Service, which would be able to send messages to and from the front. She's been trying to work on this for years and years, but it turns out these guys show up and they pose as NPS agents, and they tell her that her dad is too difficult, and so they won't work with him, but they're starting up the secret version of the NPS, and they think that her birds will be perfect for it. So they give her tests, they give her a bird to send messages far and wide. There's a lot of information about how they used pigeons during the war in this one, which I thought was really interesting. And because it's a mystery, Olive Bright is a huge Agatha Christie fan, so she's always going to the local library, checking out Agatha Christie novels. But when a local woman in town who's kind of nasty, she knows everybody's secrets. She's kind of a great character because she's rude to everybody, but somehow she and Olive have this really great relationship where Olive can take whatever this woman dishes out and give it right back to her. She is found dead outside of Olive's pigeon coop, so she decides that she is going to channel her own inner Miss Marple, and she's going to figure out what has happened to this woman and solve the mystery. They're cattails, so we've gotten at least one cattail sighting. Again, signed copies are available. If you're a fan of Jacqueline Winspear, Charles Todd, any of those really great World War II, Iona Wishaw. This one's really fantastic, so I hope you'll check it out. Like I said, we still have a handful of signed copies. So that's my first one for the evening.
All right, thanks, John. And we have a Maisie appearance while she uninvited jumped into my lap. So Maisie, say hello. Who knows how long she'll last. All right, our next person up is Sally. And hi, Sally.
Hello. Hi, everybody. My first book is The Sanatorium by Sarah Pearse. Excuse me, as my voice seems to change, by Sarah Pearse. It's a great closed location mystery set in the Swiss Alps. And the Sanatorium is about a newly built resort that used to be the sanatorium where tuberculosis patients went. Now it's been built as a luxury hotel. Ellen Warner and her boyfriend go to the hotel to meet her brother and his fiance for an engagement party. While they're there, people start going missing, including the fiance of the brother. While they're trying to find out where she is and what has happened to her, a blizzard blows in, and everybody is, most people get out, but there and a few other hotel employees are trapped there in the blizzard. So it becomes a great closed location mystery. Ellen, who is on leave from her job as a British police detective, because of a case that happened in the death of her mother, is suffering from lots of emotional issues. When the brother's fiance goes missing, she, because the police can't get to her, suddenly has to start doing her job again. I really enjoyed this book. There ends up being a lot of people several people that go missing, including, as the book opens, with the original architect, whose body was never found. Later on in the book, when one of the people that goes missing body is found, then everything just goes crazy. It's a book full of great surprises, plenty of twists and turns for everyone, and you really root for Ellen to be able to do her job. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a great closed location mystery, as I said, and we still have copies, and it was also one of Reese's book club picks. So pick up The Sanatorium by Sarah Pearse. You'll enjoy it. Back to you.
You're muted.
I don't hear you. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, that's why I said hang on. It's not a Zoom event until that happens. So check, everyone, take your drink now. All right. So I also love Sanatorium, and did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So lots of
Okay.
Sanatorium love. I'm putting myself back on the screen, and it's my turn. Thank you all for chiming in. Keep the chat going. We love it. We love seeing that you've read and you liked things, and I'm glad that the captions are working out. The first book I'm going to talk about is Finlay Donovan. Finlay Donovan is Killing It. There you go. That's the best angle for that. We have signed copies of this. They're not tipped in signed copies. They are real copies signed on the title page. And this is a debut from an author that I think, and I think John will agree with me, he also loved this book, is set for a great career. If you like early Janet Ivanovich, if you like books that have humor, but also have a really good mystery in them, and they're fun. Now, Janet Ivanovich's books can get a little silly. This one can get a little silly too, but not too silly, like just fun, escapist read. You should definitely check this one out. So the premise behind it is that the main character is a single mom struggling with trying to keep up with life, with kids. The opening scene with her children and glue and issues with their hair is hilarious. But she is a romantic suspense author who is doing a meeting at essentially Panera, and someone overhears her research conversation and mistakes her for a hit woman and passes her a note requesting that she knock off someone for money. And at first, she wants to laugh it off as this is a funny, ridiculous thing that happened. But then she kind of gets curious and she looks into it and thinks maybe this person's not the best person in the world. And, maybe she could use some income. And so her investigation is obviously the book, and it's just absolutely so much fun. It's the first in the series. There's another one coming, and like I said, John and I absolutely loved it. It's so much fun and such a breath of fresh air, just as a nice escape. So Finlay Donovan is Killing It by Elle Cosimano. Let's see, John, are you up next?
No, I'm up next.
All right. I'm sorry, Mama. Okay.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay, my second choice for tonight is Elly Griffiths' new book called The Postscript Murders, and it is a sequel to the very popular Stranger Diaries that was out a couple of years ago. We have the same main character, D.S. Harbinder, and Elly is, I'm sorry? Did you say something, McKenna? No? Okay. And in this particular book, Peggy Smith is an older lady who has a caregiver, and she is found dead. And the caregiver begins to clear her belongings and finds all kinds of inscriptions to her from specific mystery authors, thanking her for her help. And as it turns out, Peggy actually was a murder mystery consultant to a number of authors. And so as the caregiver begins to think that possibly her death wasn't natural, it soon becomes a real item that other authors are being targeted. And the authors that are being targeted are the ones who had used her as a consultant. As you know, Elly is one of my absolute favorite authors, and this is just another in the line of her great writes. And again, you want to be able to pick up a copy of Elly Griffiths, The Postscript Murders. It's the sequel to the very popular book from a couple of years ago, Stranger Diaries, and we have both in stock. So make sure you get a copy of one or both. Your turn, McKenna.
Okay. Oh, I'm just emceeing. John loves this one too. And while it does have that same character, if this one sounds great, what's so fun about this one is how much of the mystery writer world and Ellie's personal experiences in that world that she brings to the table. And also her recent chat that can be found here on YouTube or on Facebook was absolutely delightful. So if you like her books and you're interested in hearing more about that, you can find it there. And I think I already mentioned John really liked this one too. So, okay. Sally is up next again, right? No, I don't know. I don't know how I've messed this up so badly.
There's only 4 of us.
Thank you, Mama. Thank you very much. Okay. There's John. Here he goes.
Okay, so we're going to now get into my classic retellings, or classic literature retellings, but in thriller styles. And what's really fun about all of these, and I'll mention this as I talk about them, these aren't like beat by beat retellings. These are authors taking these really cool moments from these classic books and twisting them and playing with them. So first up is The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins. The main character is Jane. She's a dog walker in Alabama. She was an orphan. She doesn't have much to her name. You don't know whether or not she actually really is Jane or if she's reinvented herself. So because she's, like I said, she doesn't really have much to her name, she's walking dogs in this exclusive gated neighborhood in Alabama, you know, potentially stealing an earring off of a nightstand here or there to kind of make ends meet. And one day while she's out walking a dog in the rain, she almost gets run over by this very handsome man named Eddie Rochester. As she gets to know him, she realizes that his first wife has gone missing. Nobody knows what happened to her one fateful night. If this starts to sound familiar to you, it is because she is playing with Jane Eyre, as evidenced by the title, The Wife Upstairs. It's so much fun. There's lots of humor. There's lots of just really great twists. I really loved her taking this kind of gothic novel and setting it in Alabama. She kind of does some really fun stuff. So her, the first wife was essentially kind of Reese Witherspoon. She created her own brand, kind of like Draper James. So she plays on those riffs too. And so, of course, Jane is obsessed with this first wife. What happened to her? Where did she go? While also not wanting to rock the boat because she has a pretty cushy life with Eddie. It's kind of one of those books where you don't necessarily want to root for any of the characters because they're not great people, but they're so entertaining that you can't help but want to know what happens. I flew through this. Like I said, there's lots of humor. It really has Rachel's own spin on it. She's done a lot of young adult stuff. This is her first adult thriller. I'm so excited to see what she's going to do next. She basically said she wanted to write the kind of book that you would pick up in an airport on vacation, that you would plow through, you would absolutely love, and it would just be a great beach read vacation book. That's exactly what it is. Spring break is coming up, so if you just want something that you're going to tear through, it's The Wife Upstairs. We do still have some signed book plates available for it, and if you want to know more info about the book, I did an interview with Rachel Hawkins. Megan Miranda interviewed her at the beginning of January, so that is also available on the YouTube channel. So that is The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins.
Thank you, John. Okay, I got this. Sally is up next.
Yay!
Yay!
Hey, hi again, everybody. My next book is The Lost Village by Camilla Sten. It's not quite out yet. I believe it comes out on the 23rd. And it is a book told in 2 timelines, one the current timeline and one in 1950 and one in 1959. The Lost Village is about a village in Sweden that almost all the people have disappeared. Alice Lindstedt is our narrator, and she and a group of friends decide they want to do a documentary about it because she has heard tales from her grandmother who left the village, of course, before everybody went missing. And the grandmother left some of her family back in the village. So in about 20 years after 1959, a group of people go to the village and discover a woman stoned to death in the square and a newborn baby. Later, Alice and her friends go to try to make the documentary. This book was full of a lot of surprises, which I were not expecting, because they soon realize if they are not alone when their equipment starts being destroyed and people start getting hurt and injured. It is told again, like saying too, you get the flashbacks from 1959, and she is doing a lot of the telling with correspondence from her grandmother. It is will remind you of a lot of Shirley Jackson with this darkness, and there's a little bit of horror, and it's a good book. Like I said, it's not quite out yet. It comes out in March 23rd, and it is a good on the edge of your seat thriller. And back to you, McKenna. Oh, and it is one more thing, and it is a debut, as is the Sanatorium.
Yeah, so this Camilla Sten book is absolutely fabulous. I too read it a very long time ago, and it's yes, Gail, it's a little scary. The tagline for the book, which is either going to sell you on it or it's not going to be for you, is The Blair Witch Project meets Midsommar, that creepy movie. And so I'm all in. I loved it. It's also very, very well done, very well written. And we're very excited about Lost Village. I think it's going to be a big hit. Okay. I will say many of you have probably figured this out already, but when we were dividing up our books for tonight, we all had to kind of sacrifice. Like John wanted to talk about Finlay Donovan, and I wanted to talk about Sanatorium, and there's been a whole lot of communal love for books tonight. So a lot of these have multiple endorsements, and we really do think that you'll enjoy some of our picks. The one I'm about to talk about next is Shiver by Reynolds, and my mom also read this book and enjoyed it. So as John said, spring break reads, you want something that you just will start and read like popcorn, won't be able to put down. Definitely check out Shiver. So it tells a story set maybe, I think, about 10 years earlier than present day, about a group of athletes who are at a tournament in the Swiss Alps, and maybe France. It's been a while. Mama, is it France? Yes, France. It's in France, not Switzerland. Anyway, they are at this tournament, and someone goes missing in an avalanche and is never seen again. And they all get an invitation to come back to the resort to celebrate or honor the fact that this woman has now been legally declared dead because she's been missing for so long, and that people can move on with their lives. And as soon as they get on the ski lift to go up to the resort, it becomes apparent that the person who did the inviting actually was not the person who did the inviting. She was invited also. And they get to the resort, and there's no staff there, and they're all alone. And next thing you know, their cell phones are stolen, and all the horrible things that can happen in a mountainous closed cast mystery. Now, it does definitely resemble Sanatorium. I read both of those back to back, but this one, Sanatorium, is a little bit of a more in-depth, slower read. Shiver is, like I said, like popcorn. Pick it up. It's told from all the different perspectives of people there at the resort, and you don't know until the very end who the person is behind it. So it kind of has some of those, the cliches that you love for a closed cast mystery. Did I get it right, Mama?
You did get it right.
Good. Okay. Well, apparently people are enjoying our banter because we are delightful like that. So
we are indeed delightful, and it's a very good book, as is Sanatorium.
Yeah, there we go. Oh my God. I don't know who's next. Okay.
Again, McKenna, there's only 4 of us.
I'm paralyzed with fear. I'm going to do it wrong.
All right. So my next choice is The Windsor Knot by S.J. Bennett. And again, if you are a fan of our virtual events, you will see that McKenna just recently did an event with S.J. Bennett. It was absolutely delightful. The Windsor Knot is actually set at Windsor Castle. It involves Queen Elizabeth. It starts, the book is actually set in 2016 as we're approaching Queen Elizabeth's 90th birthday. She has a group of people come for a state dinner, and they retire for the evening, and someone dies in the night, but not just dies. Unfortunately, it's a murder. And as the investigative team for the royal family begins to investigate, Queen Elizabeth thinks maybe they've headed down a rabbit hole, and discreetly, with her private secretary, Rosie, begins to do some investigation of her own. I think that you will absolutely love this book. It's not a cozy, it's not overdone, it's not underdone. It is absolutely wonderful. And I will quote from the inside flap of the book. S.J. Bennett captures Queen Elizabeth's voice with skill, nuance, wit, and genuine charm in this imaginative and engaging tale that portrays Her Majesty as she's rarely seen, kind yet worldly, decisive, shrewd, and most important, a superb judge of character. And really, I can't say that any better than that. It's absolutely wonderful. Pick up a copy. It'll be a great read for summer break, and we have copies in the store. Be sure to pick one up. It's really wonderful. Okay, it's your turn. I'll say this since McKenna.
I know it's John's. I just wanted to add that we keep talking about our YouTube events, but some of them are just like really charming as hosts. Like, we really enjoy them. And Gail already said, like, the interview with her was great. She was absolutely delightful. She talks all about dying in sleeps, which is what happens when this person's found dead in the book. She also talked about the fact that each one of the Queen's royal residences can be a setting for future books. So I can't wait to read the forthcoming titles in the series and visit Balmoral and the Britannia yacht and all the other places. So just adding on to general excitement about the Windsor Knot. Okay, John, you're next, right?
Right.
Yes. Okay, here we go.
You have to unmute him.
You're muted. It wasn't me. He can unmute himself.
No, it was me. So as Brenda mentioned, we have copies of all of these in store. There are a couple of things, like Sally was talking about, the Camilla Sten and one of my books that are not out yet, but all of the books that are currently released, we have them in store. As we've said, we're open, so you can come in and pick them up. We've got them all on a display. You can click the link that McKenna dropped and order them, or you can shoot us an email and say, hey, I want this one, this one, this one, this one, and we'll get them all pulled for you. So they're all in store and ready to pick up. Of course, we'll be closed tomorrow, but we will be ready to get them for you on Monday. So my next one is Her Dark Lies by J.T. Ellison. If you guys have been watching the events, you can tell that a lot of my picks, a lot of my reading lately has been guided by what virtual events are coming up, which is kind of cool because then I picked up some stuff that I wouldn't maybe necessarily have picked up. And Her Dark Lies is one of those. J.T. Ellison, as we'd said in her bio when I introduced her, cat tail. So we'll let Calvin say hi since his tail is hanging out. There's
Hi, Calvin.
my little 15-pound chunk. So as I said, J.T. Ellison has written like over 20 books. She's done series, she's done standalone stuff. I'd never read her before, but this one just sounded too good to pass up. So I was so excited to read it. We do have signed book plates of it as well. We've got copies of the paperback in stock. If you want hardcover, let us know and we can order the hardcover. But so Her Dark Lies, our main character, Claire, is about to get married to Jack. Claire lives in Nashville. Jack is the heir to this software firm. He's kind of taken a step back from the company and is doing their essentially Doctors Without Borders stuff. And it's days before their wedding. As the book opens, somebody has broken into her townhouse in Nashville and tried to kill her. He's shot dead. The guy that breaks in is shot dead. They say that one of the bodyguards has done it so that way she's not charged with the crime. And they go off to this island off the coast of Italy to go get married. It's this big palatial island. And so they get there, and Claire starts to wonder if somebody's trying to stop her marriage. Her wedding dress is ruined. All kinds of things start happening. And then there's the mystery of Jack's first wife. She went missing off of their boat off the coast of California years ago. Claire is secretly obsessed with trying to figure out what's happened to her. If any of this sounds familiar to you, it's because she is also riffing off of Rebecca. It's also gotten some Agatha Christie allusions with playing with a little bit of And Then There Were None and Death on the Nile. As JT said when we did her interview, there's a high body count in this one, but it's not overly gory. It's just a really great thriller. You've got all of these people locked on this island. Things are happening. People are disappearing. People aren't what they seem. Lots of fun tropes. She plays with a lot of those like beats from Rebecca. Like there's something that happens with a dress. And as soon as the dress is mentioned, you're like, oh, I have an idea where this is going to go. But then when you actually get the reveal to see how she twists it, it's just so much fun. Helen Ellis, who I adore, was the one that did moderation of the event with us. And while I was reading the book, because I knew Helen was reading it because she was moderating, like I was texting her like, holy shit, I'm halfway through this. Have you gotten to this part? Have you gotten to this part? So it's just one of those, again, kind of popcorn thriller reads that you're just going to want to sit down and tear through. It's so much fun. We have signed book plates. Like I said, if you want to know more about it and hear more from JT, you can also check out that interview on YouTube. So that is Her Dark Lies, which is my Rebecca pastiche. I'll have another Daphne du Maurier one coming up in just a little bit, but definitely check that out. And now we are going to turn it over to Sally for her next recommendation.
Good job, John.
Thank you, John.
Sorry, I went away for a moment, but now I'm back. My next book is Later, always on this side, Later by Stephen King. This is his third hard case crime release. The first one was The Colorado Kid, and the one was a few years ago called Joyland, which was great. And this one is equally as good. Nobody writes kids better than Stephen King, like with It and the short story Stand By Me. And this is about a young boy. He is telling this story as a 22-year-old looking back on his adolescence. As we find out right away, he can see dead people, and he makes several allusions to the movie. So it's not like he doesn't know about it. He sees dead people, but it's different because he only sees them for a little while. And when he sees them, if he asks them a question, they have to tell him the truth. Which works well at the beginning. His mom is a literary agent who is having some issues, and she also has a girlfriend who's an NYPD detective. The NYPD detective finds out that he can see dead people and then tries to take advantage of that. She leads him down this path to find there's a serial bomber in the city, and she leads him down this path to try to discover who this bomber is and where the next bomb is. It's which leads into just further and further scariness when one of the ghosts that he encounters is not going away and is becoming more of a demon-like figure. It is really a Stephen King read with a bit of a whodunit. He, of course, writes horror like no other person, and this is my horror pick for my recommendations. It's a quick read. You will blow through it. You will love it. And if you're a Stephen King fan, you don't want to pass it up. That's it. Back to McKenna.
So clearly the solution is for you guys to just tell me when you're coming up. So I will just say a quick housekeeping. If you were tuning in late and you've missed any of our recommendations and you're not used to watching these events, you can watch from the beginning almost immediately on Facebook. YouTube takes a couple hours to process, but as soon as it's done processing the live, you can watch the video from the beginning. And just a reminder that we do have a link in the comments. We actually have it dropped a couple times that has more information or, ordering links on our website for all of these titles. Okay, so I think it's my turn, and I'm gonna recommend a book and also talk about our Murder by the Box subscription boxes. So the book I'm going to talk about is actually a recent release in paperback, but it is from 1932. So I've been at the store since 2003, and this book has not been in print that whole time. And as a matter of fact, it's actually in print from a British publisher right now, HarperCollins Crime Club. It's Rudolph Fisher's The Conjure-Man Dies, which is actually the first detective novel written by an African American. I think it's absolutely remarkable because it features the person doing the investigating is Perry Dart in Harlem, and he is one of 10 Black detectives in the police at the time, one of Harlem's 10 Black detectives, and he is helped in the investigation by Dr. Archer, who is a physician from across the street. So these two gentlemen decide to investigate the case of the Conjure-Man, who has been found murdered, and they are helped also by some of the characters on the street. But while this sounds like you think Harlem, you think detective stories, you think Chester Himes, dark, gritty, this is actually, Rudolph Fisher was hugely inspired by Agatha Christie and classic Golden Age mysteries. So if you want gritty along these dark streets, Harlem, then like I said, you should read Chester Himes, 1000% Rage in Harlem. If you want something that's kind of a landmark book, and the Golden Age mystery style sounds great to you also, remembering that it's from 1932, I would definitely say to give The Conjure-Man Dies a shot. I was so excited that this book was finally available and reprinted that I actually chose it as well as Chester Himes' Rage in Harlem for the inaugural. I'm apparently unable to speak for a second. For the inaugural selections for Crime Fiction Legends, which is one of our Murder by the Box subscription boxes. So like I said, our theme was Harlem, and it was very well received. People have enjoyed this book a lot. And if it's something you're interested in, last month's picks were two British female authors who were famous for Golden Age, Marjorie Allingham and Agatha Christie. But I chose books that were look-backs to World War II and looked at the ramifications of World War II. And for Marjorie Allingham, the pick was Tiger in the Smoke, which is really very, very different than her Albert Campion books, because her other Albert Campion books, because it has to do with a serial killer in London. So anyway, I'm really enjoying picking the Crime Fiction Legends because there are books for one reason or another that do absolutely have some importance in the crime fiction world. And if this sounds good to you, there's 2 paperbacks a month with a theme, and they can be anything of my choosing, but it will be backed up by some kind of historical significance. So Conjure-Man Dies and Murder by the Box Crime Fiction Legends, which John has dropped a link to. Thank you, John. Okay, my mom is next. I know this. My mom is next, and Benedict is with her. There we go.
Benedict is here with me, and my next choice is Who is Maud Dixon by Alexandra Andrews. This book is set in America, which, as many of you know, I don't do a whole lot of American authors. However, this is actually about a woman by the name of Florence Harrow, who is a low-level publishing employee at a publishing house. And she is given the opportunity to go to work for someone named Maud Dixon. Maud Dixon has written a book that has just taken the world by storm, very popular. It's a pseudonym. No one knows who Maud Dixon is except her publicist. and editor. And so when Florence is given this opportunity, she doesn't know whether it's a male or female, young, old, she knows nothing at all. But she takes the opportunity. She's a wannabe writer, and she decides that if she is working for Maud Dixon, that possibly she can get some writing in at the same time. Everything's going pretty well. She meets Maud, and everything seems to be going okay until there's a traffic accident, and Florence wakes up in the hospital, and Maud is nowhere to be found. And so the mystery really begins there. It's absolutely delightful. It's compared to Patricia Highsmith. There are twists and turns every time you turn around, and you won't know what's going on until the end of the book. I really enjoyed it. Pick up a copy. It's called Who is Maud Dixon? I'm not going to tell you who it is, so be sure to pick up a copy. McKenna, back to you.
Okay, it's John next. I got this now. There's John.
Okay, so it's super fun seeing everybody in the comments talking about, hey, I've read this one, I've loved this one too. I'm so glad that we're talking about stuff that some of you guys have read already. So I've seen several people mention that they loved the Rachel Hawkins, that they also loved the J.T. Ellison. So if you guys loved this one, you're gonna love The Smuggler's Daughter by Kerry Barrett. This one's not out just yet. Let me check my notes. This one actually comes out on April 3rd, I think. I didn't write that down apparently. So going to be a paperback original. The kind of tagline for it was, it's Daphne du Maurier's Jamaica Inn meets a contemporary police procedural, which is pretty much all I needed to know that I was absolutely going to love this book. It's so good. It's a past and present storyline. In our present storyline, our main character, Phoebe, is a police officer who is investigating a case that's gone wrong and results in the death of a young girl. So she's having a really hard time processing that. Her superiors tell her to take some time off. So during her break, her best friend says, hey, I've got a job at this pub in Cornwall. Do you want to come work with me? You don't even have to work. You can just be there for the summer. We'll just take a little bit of a break. It's getting very close to dinner time in the McDougal house. So Calvin is like really ready for his dinner. So Phoebe decides to go help her friend run this pub. So they get there, the pub's completely run down. It's on a cliff in Cornwall. Nobody ever comes in. The more they start to learn about the pub, it's kind of known as the Moon Pub. There are all of these ghost stories that center around this young girl named Emily Moon who disappeared 200 years ago. She disappeared in the middle of the night one night. Nobody ever knows what happened to her. So that's where a lot of the ghost stories come from, and kind of strange things start happening. Phoebe's friend who's running the pub is starting to act strange. There's this guy that's hanging out that says he's going to help Phoebe's friend run the pub and get people to come in. But the whole thing is kind of shady to her as a police detective. And anytime she mentions to her friend that there's something weird going on, her friend is like, you're just being overly sensitive because this other case went wrong. You're seeing crimes where crimes don't happen. So to distract herself, Phoebe decides she is going to find out what happened to Emily Moon 200 years ago. So the flashback story is 200 years ago, and Emily Moon is a young girl who can speak, but she can't if she gets flustered and doesn't speak around everybody. Really early in the book, you find out that Emily has seen something terrible happen, and that also kind of inhibits her speech. She and her family live at this pub, and her father was involved in some other shady stuff. So with the title, The Smuggler's Daughter, clearly smuggling, ships being shipwrecked off the coast of Cornwall, all of that comes into play, which, again, that's where the Daphne du Maurier's Jamaica Inn comes in, which Jamaica Inn is like one of my absolute favorite books of all time. It's my favorite Daphne du Maurier. And the way that Kerry Barrett takes kind of those Gothic elements of Jamaica Inn and some of those kind of, again, not a point-by-point retelling, but kind of takes the things that really work about Jamaica Inn puts those in a present timeline and uses them as a police procedural. It's so brilliant. It's so good. I really hope you guys will pick this one up. I really can't wait for it to be out. So I am going to be chatting with Kerry Barrett on April 9th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon because she's in the UK. We're going to do an afternoon event. So I'm super excited to talk to her about this book. And Daphne du Maurier, apparently she wrote the entire thing during the first UK lockdown. It's interesting to hear her kind of getting inspired and writing during all of this going on too. So that is The Smuggler's Daughter by Kerry Barrett. Again, we don't have that one in store just yet because it's not out until the beginning of April, but you can definitely pre-order and we will be happy to put one aside for you when it is released.
Sally's up next, correct?
Correct.
Hi, Sally.
Hi. Next up is one of my favorite authors, Michael Koryta, with his newest book, Never Far Away. This has been out for a little while, so you may have already read it, but I want to recommend it because I like this as much as I've always loved Koryta. It is about this woman who 10 years ago faked her own death when she had worked for this black op type company as a pilot, and she witnessed a death and then testified in court about it, and then become part of the witness protection program. She has changed her name to Leah Trenton and has moved to Maine from Louisville. 10 years after that happens, her husband, and she is a mother of 2 young children who don't remember her. 10 years later, her husband is killed in a car accident, and the daughter, who is now 13, has instructions to call Aunt Leah, who has never visited them, and they do not know. She comes and gets them, takes them back to Maine, and they are none the wiser. Then the man that owned the black op company discovers that she is indeed still alive and sends 2 assassins to get her and her children. Meanwhile, a friend of hers hired Dax Blackwell. You may remember the Blackwells. They have been in several of the Koryta novels for the past 2 or 3. And Dax is the only one left, and he is hired to protect Nina, or Leah, and her kids. So he is on his way to Maine to protect them. Dax, who is a hitman himself, is someone that you should not like, but you do. He has become a favorite character in the past couple of books that he's read, and I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing him in other books. So he gets to Maine, and he encounters both Leah and her children, and the 2 assassins arrive on the scene as well. They end up on a river nearby with a great outdoor scene, which Michael Koryta does so well. No one writes outdoor better than he does. This is a great, fast read, well-paced. Koryta does these type of thrillers very well. You'll look, if you haven't read it, please do. And if you have never read Michael Koryta, we have plenty we can recommend to you. He did an event about a month or so ago now. It's available, I know, on our YouTube channel. Be sure and go see that. He talks a lot about the Blackwell family and how they came to be and what we may or may not see from them. So that is Never Far Away, Michael Koryta. Another great thriller, and there's also a great shout out in the book to Scott Carson. Keep an eye out for it. That's it. Back to you, McKenna.
Thanks, Allie. Yeah, my Koryta's event was with Sandra Brown, and it was actually, despite those 2 seeming like they would not be the best pairing in the world, it was absolutely delightful, and I highly recommend checking it out. So I'm actually going to talk about my next one, but I'm going to look up some of the names because I don't want to get things wrong. So the book I'm talking about is R.V. Ramon's, Maisie, it's definitely in the way, R.V. Ramon's A Will to Kill. There we go. Hi, Maisie.
Hi, Maisie.
Hi, Angel. Thank you. This is the first in what is going to be a modern day detective series set in India with very, very clear inspirations from Agatha Christie. So is there an echo? Oh, no, I think that's Sally. John, will you mute Sally for just a second?
No, it's me. Hang on.
Okay. So, like I was saying, this is the first in a series, and the main character is Harith Athreya, who is hired by the owner of a private manor, a big manor house estate in the mountains in India. And he is hired because the owner is so worried that something is going to happen to him that he has made 2 wills. One of the wills has inheritances based on a natural cause of death, and the other one is based on suspicious activity or foul play. He is worried about that because the previous owners of this manor, Graybrook Manor, have died of mysterious deaths. So there's a little element of, is there something haunted or cursed with this mansion? Now, I will just put to rest, there's no paranormal anything in this book. It is a very, very traditional mystery set in India. And the investigator who's called in to stay at this home, of course, he takes this really, there's a great passage where it's describing him coming up this old-fashioned railway up the mountains, and he's picked up at the top of the railway, and he's going down this path to the manor, and then there's a mudslide, and the path is, of course, then blocked off, and there's going to be no escape, and all the things you want in a good, again, closed-cast book. I've got 2 of those this time. But I thought it was delightful. And of course, the first night, everyone has dinner, and there's interesting characters in the village who you meet. And as soon as they have dinner that first night, go to bed, wake up the next morning, dum, 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 there's a dead body. But it may or may not be who you expect. I thought the main character, Harith Athreya, was really, really engaging, likable, a nice detective. It's very well plotted. Like Christy, the strength of this book is in the plot. You're not going to get a very in-depth character study. You're not going to get lyrical prose, but it is just a fun mystery. And I thought the setting and everything was pretty cool. And we've had a couple questions about the monthly subscriptions and whether they include Zoom author visits. And John, I think, has already answered, but I will wrap that into what I'm talking about. So Will to Kill was our February best of the month pick. So our best of the month box comes with 1 new release hardcover. We're shipping out the March title on Monday. So those of you who are subscribers, look for that shortly. It comes with a book. In most cases, it's going to come with a signed book plate. We got these all the way from India. And it also includes, just with Best of the Month, it includes a private book club event with the author set the following month so that you have time to read the book. So, for example, this one was February's pick, and we're doing our Zoom book group on the 21st, and it's just a members exclusive thing. So if that's interesting to you, I think it's pretty cool that it's more of a discussion as opposed to a virtual event, but the author does come in for the talk. So as I said, we do have book plates of this. I just, not anything to do with the subscription box. It's a really, really, really fun read. Highly recommend it. The setting is great. These misty mountains in India. And I believe my mom will chime in and say that she really enjoyed it as well.
I did really enjoy it as well.
Okay. So that is the end of my picks, but everyone else still has one, right?
I do.
Okay, everyone else has one more, and then I'm going to wrap up. I was emceeing and 1 fewer book. We have someone watching from Ireland, so that's very exciting. Hello from Houston. Thanks for tuning in at what is early morning or very late night for you. Okay, so Brenda, you are up next.
I am. And I will say, to begin with, that every once in a while you read a book that will stick with you forever. And in the recent past, Many of you will remember the book I Am Pilgrim by Terry Hayes. You will also remember A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles. And those are two of my absolute favorite books. Very different, but are books that I can think back on and remember how wonderful they were. And they're books that come to mind every time someone asks a favorite book. And although we have had a number of wonderful books here tonight, I'll tell you that we have a book like that in our midst now. The book is called We Begin at the End by Chris Whitaker. This is the story of Duchess, who is a 13-year-old girl who has a little brother named Robin. They are the children of a single mother named Star. The setting is in a small town in California. Walk is the local sheriff. He has grown up in town. He went to school with Star and Vincent, his best friend. He is haunted by the fact that testimony that he gave in Vincent's trial sent him to prison for 30 years. He has watched Star as she has suffered with depression, alcoholism, drugs, in and out of the hospital. She has 2 children. She can't take care of herself, much less the children. And he has intervened as the years have gone by as much as he can to help with the children. Something happens to Star, and this truly is Duchess and Robin's story, accompanied by Walk. I think that it will become an instant classic, much like the couple of books that I just said. I think that it's a book that when you finish reading it, you will continue to think about the characters, particularly Duchess, how life throws things at us and how we wind up dealing with those things that life throws at us. On the back of the book, there are several blurbs by other authors, most notably Louise Penny, Jane Harper, John Hart, all authors that I read, A.J. Finn. So everyone has loved this book. It has taken the Indie Next Book of the Month title for March. And I just can't imagine anyone who reads it that is not going to be touched by this book. It's not a necessarily happy book, but I think it's so well done. It's not, it doesn't overdo anything, and yet it doesn't trivialize anything either. It's absolutely wonderful. It's a book you'll continue to think about. You'll think about the characters, and I can't really think of any book that I will read for the rest of the year that will top this book in my #1 best of the year. So pick up a copy. We have copies at the store. It's called We Begin at the End by Chris Whitaker, and it is absolutely wonderful. Okay, McKenna, your turn.
I'm going to come on here and just say hypothetically, if you are a Murder by the Box Best of the Month subscriber, you might not need to order the Chris Whitaker. just make note of that. The few of you who are watching and are subscribers, that may already be covered for you. Okay.
I'll also say that Sally has also read it, and I think she will agree with my assessment. Sally?
And I started it this afternoon, and I'm obsessed with Duchess.
You will not put it down. You just can't put it down.
Well, if I didn't have to be on here tonight, I'd be reading it right now.
And you get so invested in it that you cannot wait to pick it up again. And when you end it, you cannot believe that the story is done. It is absolutely fantastic. Right, Sally?
The home cast are not people you're going to forget and that you're just going to love. And Duchess There's not going to be another Duchess for a long time. She is something.
Right. She
And
is.
Robin too, but Duchess, she is everything.
Yeah.
All right, John, your last book. Or unmute, John.
Sorry. Yeah. So it would not be a Murder by the Book recommends, Murder by the Book thing if I did not talk about a cozy mystery, which it's funny to me that that has sort of become part of my Murder by the Book brand because I'd never read a cozy before I started working at the store, but I've completely fallen in love with the genre. I've become such an advocate for it. It's just funny how those things work out. So to go with this, so we, in addition to the Best of the Month Murder by the Box and the Crime Fictions Legends Murder by the Box, we also have the John's Cozy Corner Murder by the Box subscription, where every month I will pick out a first in series or potentially a different one in a series if you can easily jump in there. But my plan is to get as many first in series as I can. Cozy mysteries for you. My goal is to try to cover as many different subgenres of cozies as I can. For those of you who are watching who might not know what a cozy mystery is, it is basically a mystery that is usually set in a small town. The murder usually happens off screen. There's very little on-screen violence. There's no foul language. They're essentially a Hallmark Channel movie where there's a murder. Or if you watch the Hallmark Channel Mystery Channel, like The Murder She Baked, any of those, that's basically what they are. They're just these really charming little books. They have really great characters. They have a lot of heart to them. And if you just want something to read that's going to just charm you and it's not a thriller and you don't need something super fast paced, you just want something that's going to kind of warm your heart, that's what cozy mysteries are. So for my February pick, I picked Murder at the Beacon. Beacon. I can never say this title. Everybody says I think it says bacon, and now that's just like stuck in my head. Murder at the Beacon Bakeshop. The main character is a young girl named Lindsay who has quit her job in New York after she has found her ex-boyfriend cheating on her, has moved to the small town where she spent her summers growing up because she's always had a dream of opening up a bake shop. She buys a lighthouse that is a historical landmark but is slated to be torn down, and she decides that is going to be the place where she houses her bakery. Of course, this ticks off everybody in the town because they're like, how dare you convert this lighthouse into something else? But the lighthouse was going to get torn down anyway, so there's all kinds of issues with that. She has a very handsome, hunky neighbor who is potentially a special ops guy who's very elusive that lives down the way from her. She spends all of this time getting the bakery ready to open, and on the day that it opens, her ex-boyfriend and his new girlfriend show up, cause a huge scene, knocking donuts out of people's hands, just causing all kinds of chaos, and the new girlfriend drops dead on the lawn outside of the bake shop. So now Lindsay has to try to clear her name in a small town because everybody thinks that she has taken out her rival, and also try to save her fledgling business. It's super charming. It's super wonderful. I hope that you guys will check it out. So far, people that have gotten it for the subscription box have been really kind to let me know that they've really liked it, that they've really liked the pace for it, and they're really excited about the second in the series. One of the things that we also do with the subscription boxes, I don't know if McKenna has mentioned this or not, but we include little postcards in them that will explain to you why we picked the book, and on the back of it, we'll also suggest some potential other books to read. So for Murder at the Beacon Bacon Shop, I said, if you liked one set in the lighthouses, you could read Ava Gates's series, or there was another one. So we try to recommend other books that we think that you will enjoy as well. For our March Cozy subscription people, you probably got emails in the last day or two letting you know that your books were shipping. So we are getting those packed up as we speak, and they will go out Monday or Tuesday. I'm super excited for the March pick too, and I've already got April picked, and I'm about to start reading for May. So it's been really fun to kind of get to discover all of these new cozies. But I also wanted to mention two others that have recently come out real briefly. These are not like official Murder by the Book recommends picks that I'm going to go in depth for, but just things that I know people have really liked, and I did too. So I'm going to mention real briefly. As you guys know, I am a huge fan of Vivian Chen and her Noodle House mysteries. So the newest one, Fatal Fried Rice, has just come out last Tuesday. If you're unfamiliar with this series, the main character, Lana Lee, is working in her family's Chinese restaurant and solving mysteries. They're super fun. And the first book, her best friend buys her a copy of Private Investigators for Dummies and a notebook so she can figure out how to solve mysteries herself. So that's the newest in that series. The first one is Death by Dumpling, if you want to start with the first one. And then the other one that I really wanted to mention is Game of Cones by Abby Collette. This is the second in her series. The first one was Deadly Inside Scoop that came out last year. Lots of people came and picked it up in the store and were big fans of it. We did a virtual event with Abby last May with Daryl Woodgerber when it came out. It's actually been kind of one of my favorite cozy ones because they had such a great conversation with each other. So you can definitely check that out. So that is Game of Cones. And of course, if you want any more cozy recommendations, let me know. We've got lots of great cozy event stuff coming up, including hopefully in the next couple of weeks. We'll be announcing, actually next couple of days, we'll be announcing the lineup for our Kensington Cozy Con that we're going to be hosting as well. So that finishes me up for this evening. We're going to turn it back over to McKenna.
There we go. Okay. Good job, everyone. Thank you for all of that. And thanks to so many people watching and being interactive. It makes us really happy to know we're not just talking into a vacuum. Lots of people loving their cozies, and who doesn't want a good little escape read nowadays. I want to mention a couple of events coming up. If you haven't heard about the Harlan Coben and Michael J. Fox event from us by now, I don't know how that's possible. We keep talking about it. We still have signed copies of Win, which is the new Myron Bolitar with Win, but Win's the main character, book that's out Tuesday. And the event with Michael J. Fox is going to be interviewing him, so it should be really, really cool. It's a ticketed event, but all you need to do is get a signed copy of Win. And then we also have kind of a unique event coming up. Most of you are avid mystery readers and know what the Edgar Awards are. It's basically the Academy Awards of crime fiction. And we are going to be hosting all of the Edgar Award Best Novel nominees in April. So that's going to be really, really fun. A really cool panel that Mystery Writers of America has helped us set up. So I believe, I'm going to get the date wrong, but it's at murderbooks.com, or John may figure it out and let me know.
It is April 24th, and it is part of our Independent Bookstore Day celebration. So you'll stay tuned for more info about what we're going to do for Independent Bookstore Day. But yeah, so that's April 24th, and I think it's going to be at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, we're super excited about it, like I said. So mark your calendars for that one. And we will also mention, I thought the puzzle craze, but we just got in several new varieties, including a Jane Austen puzzle that's the same format as the Sherlock Holmes one, where you can look for different characters in the puzzle. It's a brand new puzzle release, and we got in tons of them, and they sold out in like hours. Just crazy, sold out. But we have tons more coming in. If you're a Jane Austen fan, definitely check out our new puzzles under the gifts tab of our website, because we have some really nice things there, and apparently people are still very, very interested in new puzzles. The last thing I will say is we love that you are putting orders in the comments, but we are not going to be able to handle that most likely. So if you do want a book, just email us at order@murderbooks.com, or you can email one of us directly if you have our store emails, or just order on the website. But we don't want to miss anything. So if you're saying you want something in the comments, just please send us an email or something, call us. We'll be happy to accommodate, but the comments are tricky for us. Annette was wondering, what's the title of the March Cozy Box selection? Well, you're going to have to wait and see when it comes in the mail, because they're always a surprise. So maybe if you desperately need to know, you can reach out to John, but we're not going to announce it today. So let's see. Am I missing anything, John?
I don't think so. You mentioned YouTube and Facebook. So if you guys want to check out what we've been doing virtual event wise, there's a plethora. There are easily over 200 events at this point. We've got some really great stuff coming up. And like she said, like McKenna said, you know, none of us are at the store right now, so we're not able to grab stuff for orders. So yeah, I'll try to scroll through these again when I'm back at the store on Tuesday. But if there's something that you definitely had your heart set on, email or give us a call Monday. I don't think there's anything else. I think we got it all covered.
I do want to say something. I know a lot of y'all have asked when we're going to do another t-shirt campaign because the baseball t-shirts are the softest, most wonderful t-shirts in the world. John's not wearing one of the baseball tees tonight, but he is wearing one of our bonfire shirts. We are very likely going to be doing a bonfire campaign for a special Independent Bookstore Day design. So look for an announcement for that if you want to stock back up on those super soft tees. So I guess that's it for now. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm gonna just put everyone on the screen to say good night. We're all gonna come up here evenly. There we go. All right, so we're gonna say good night.
Good night. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Buy books.